California officials are grappling with massive cost and the consequences of this destruction, fueled by dry conditions and strong winds. AccuWeather is estimating the total damage and economic loss from the fires could top $57 billion, making it one of the costliest wildfires in U.S. history. Fires have engulfed many high-value properties and businesses in many affluent areas, such as the Pacific Palisades and the Hollywood Hills. All of this comes as many California homeowners are facing, as we just talked about, this insurance crisis, with many major insurance companies hesitant to offer coverage in this wildfire-prone state. Okay, let's talk more now about the impact of the LA wildfires and what they're going to have on California. We're joined by Chad Hanson. He is a Forest and Fire Ecologist with the John Muir Project. He's also the author of the book Smokescreen: Debunking Wildfire Myths to Save Our Forest and Our Climate. Chad, welcome to the program. Thanks for taking time to chat with us.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the area. I'm sure you've been inundated by all kinds of pictures over the last several days, but these fires that just simply burn out of control, homes, businesses, legions of people under mandatory evacuation orders. How did we get here?
You know, there's two key things that are happening here. First is just the convergence of fire weather circumstances that allowed these really big fires to happen at this time. You know, we have a dry fall and dry early winter, very little precipitation. We have an extreme Santa Ana wind event. Santa Ana winds are very powerful normally, but this is an extreme one where we have wind gusts, you know, over 80 miles an hour, up to 100 miles per hour. And we have extremely dry air. The relative humidity is in the single digits. So you've got these dry winds coming at, you know, enormous velocities over the mountains from the Mojave Desert. Apologies for that. And driving these fires. In circumstances like that, you simply can't stop the flames. The firefighters, you know, it's not possible, and it's not reasonable of us to expect them to do that. So they've been focusing on you know, saving lives and trying to get people and their animals safely evacuated. So that's the first. But the second is that our wildland fire policies in this country at the state and federal level have really been focused on wildlands, you know, out there, trying to remove vegetation, remove shrubs, remove trees, and thinking that that's somehow going to stop a fire from reaching towns. And that strategy has failed, especially in the era of the climate crisis. These fires are weather-driven and wind-driven, and they're going right through any areas where vegetation removal happened. And, you know, on top of that, you know, most of those policies are focused in forests, and these communities are nowhere near forests.
Right.
These are not forest communities, and most of the communities that are vulnerable to fires are not in forests or near forests. And so we have a mismatch between where our attention and our resources and the funding is going, and the communities that are vulnerable. And a lot of communities have a false sense of security, thinking that, well, firefighters will help them, or the fire problem is out there somewhere. And the communities haven't been given the support and the technical assistance that they need and the information they need to know how at risk they are and what they can do about it, and the resources and the technical assistance to make that happen. There are simple steps that can make communities fire safe, but in most cases that's not happening.
Okay, let's talk about some of these simple steps, because I covered the aftermath of fires in Boulder, Colorado a few years ago, and they used people moving into the foothills where forests were, and people had not been before. And so what happened was, when fire went through that bone dry area, there was all this fuel, if you will, all kinds of brush, and it just ravaged a number of homes. You talked about climate change, the Santa Ana winds combined with the bone dry conditions, and we're seeing so much finger pointing, fire management and forest mismanagement. It's going to be scrutinized now to an even larger degree.
Yeah, so, you know, these are not debatable points. You know, the things that actually do keep people safe, that do prevent homes from burning. The science, there's not a debate in the scientific community about this. There's unanimity. They're pretty simple things. We're just not really spending much money on them. We're not focusing on them. Policymakers are focusing on other things, and that needs to change. So number one, home hardening. Making homes themselves more fireproof. Simple things like getting dry leaves off the roofs, putting on rain gutters so dry leaves don't accumulate in the rain gutters. That matters because most homes burn from embers driven by the winds far in advance of the flames. Embers land on the roof, ignite the dry leaves. exterior vents like attic vents. Get rid of those old coarse wire mesh vents from the 1970s, 1980s,
All right.
and replace them with a fine wire mesh, 1/8 inch, 1/16 inch wire mesh that'll prevent the embers from coming into the attic. Simple things like that. There's a few others, but those are some basic ones.
Let's talk about the immediate needs right now, because for people there are many, and it's frightening to hear right now officials saying we just don't know how many people have died.
Yeah. You know, this is what when people use the term catastrophic wildfire, you know, the catastrophe is always the loss of human lives, and when people get hurt, people get injured, when people are killed in fires, and when homes are burned. But of course, you know, the most important thing is keeping people safe, and we don't know the full toll of that yet. We know people have been killed, and that's the biggest tragedy here of all. But I don't think we yet know how many.
Indeed. Chad, we certainly appreciate your assistance out there, and be safe. It's really hard to say where the next one is going to crop up. Thanks very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.